Good morning, Europe. I hope you're well. It is, what day is it? It's Tuesday, right? Yes, it is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, the 21st of July, 2026. And the markets will open in approximately 3 minutes. I have had a little sneaky long position in the DAX, and which I obviously will add to. Just also in the FTSE. FTSE is gap down and the DAX is neutral. We saw quite a bounce overnight in Asia, particularly in Nikkei, but the Nikkei had been hammered as well in the last few days. I had a friend of mine who lives in Europe and he said, "That's it. I am no longer trading the US markets and the European markets. I'm going to go to Asian time zone and trade that because it's so much more opportunity." So a couple of minutes and then we'll get going with probably an espresso. And that's not a coffee. There's something I would like to discuss with you, and that is the summer holidays. I wanted to ask you what we are going to do about August, because I'm thinking I would like to take some time off in August. And so the question becomes, do we just run like karaoke? Andy will do a Wednesday, and I may do 1 day a week, or do we just take a break, all of us, or do I organize with, say, Al Brooks to give you an offer so that you can come in and listen to them? That won't be live trading like I do it, but it's brilliant education. Okay, so current espresso line is about here. And here. I'm actually just going to put in a buy order and then we'll see how that unfolds. So the markets are open. I got a buy order in the DAX at 24,878. I think I would like to be a buyer of the FTSE up here. Okay, so that was the FTSE up here at 24,881. 24,781 stop loss. I'm also filled in the FTSE. $104.99. 04.74. Oops. There is a chance that I will keep adding to the DAX. I'm going to add to the FTSE. Well, I already have $6,000 in profit. I'll add to the FTSE again then. Nice. Right. Gap fill. I'm going to take all my profit in the FTSE. I think that was a pretty big winner. Let me just have a look. Yeah, there was. Just what the doctor ordered. As you could see, I had lost money. I lost money after I stopped trading with you. I lost another $13,000 and then made it all back. I can show you this. 1 second. I saw an opportunity in the Nasdaq, and I was trading like, okay, I can see that opportunity, so I added and added, and so this is 100 a point. But I didn't want to post it at the time because I didn't want you to go, oh, why didn't you tell us about it? Also, you probably wouldn't have understood that at that point. I'd had a bit of a rough day. So I closed the FTSE just because it was a gap fill. All right, so let me just see. Somebody saying, Tom, audio is not working. Okay, let me have a look at that. Divergent. Testing. It is working. It is working. It's very much working. It's working very well. Okay. Echo. Echo. Yeah, definitely working. All right. What else? Somebody's saying I'm a wanker. Okay, fair enough. They didn't actually say that. They could have said that. David is saying, would love a deal for a month with our Brooks crew. Take a break, mate, and freshen up. Yeah, could do. Somebody's saying, thank you for the 50 points in the DAX. Now he has to go and do his other business. Okay, fair enough. Somebody's talking about some complete loser. Don't know what that is about. Al Brooks and Andy would be, I think people are looking forward to Andy coming back. I have a feeling that some people are tired of me. And who can blame them? I can be very tiresome to listen to. Well, if you get the Al Brooks trading channel, you get Brad, Al, the Tims, Rose. Do you get Louis? Is Louis part of it? I don't know if he is. I don't think he is. Camille has a complaint about Andy. He says, Andy has no jokes. I think I need to come to karaoke Andy's defense here. Andy is German. It is just not in his DNA. Life is very serious for a German. You can't expect Andy to tell jokes. Come on. Seriously. Ain't happening. Andy, are you listening in? No, I don't think Andy is listening in. Andy is on a well-deserved holiday. Susan is saying, can karaoke Andy not fill in more days when you're away? Well, I can ask karaoke Andy. He's not responding. It's quite the reversal in the FTSE, huh? Makes me think, should I take my 14 points in the DAX? Hmm. So a couple of Germans have come out of the woodwork and said, as a German, I'm very much offended by your comment about our jokes. But unfortunately, I don't have any jokes to lighten the mood. Also, somebody else has now sent me a link to a funny German. Do I believe that? Surely that must be a... I think we should get Andy in here and to comment on it. Okay, well, anyway, let's get serious. So, from the high of the day so far, we've had a retracement of approximately, and growing, 50 odd points. Let me just see. I am sort of at break even now. Well, I was at break even. So at its best, the espresso generated 51 points. Truth be told, I should have taken profit at 40. FTSE goes back down. This is quite a classic FTSE. Revisit the lows of bar 1. So we may need to re-enter the FTSE. I think I'm going to remove my little add-on, or my my first trade, so we just have this one together. I'm putting my stop loss down at 838. I'm going to add to this up here above bar 3 high. So somebody has asked, what's the espresso theory? Espresso theory is that you bracket the bar before the open, which is this one here. You do that both to on the upside and the downside, and then in the DAX you add 17 points, and at that point there, at the 17 points, you buy. Alternatively, you would sell short down here. Yeah. You use the last 5-minute bar before the open. You bracket the high and the low, and you add 17 points. Some use 20 just for a little bit of extra cushion. I hope that answers your question. Avais. Naresh is saying, where do you get your historical data from? eSignal is one source you can use. Otherwise, I'd suggest you just Google it. There's many sources. Why 17 points on the DAX? Shipend is asking. I think that is a study of empirical, basically just empirical data, and you sort of curve fit to the one that gives you the most optimal outcome. Although I will say that you can't scale it as a percentage. I tried to look at it in 2015 and it definitely wouldn't have worked. Welcome, Aves. All right, Matt. Is it the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes for espresso? Well, Andy uses 5 minutes in the DAX and 10 minutes in the Dow. I use 5 minutes for both. Okay, Sven is asking a more tricky question. What is the math behind £6,000 win for 50 points? How much do you risk in percent? Or how much per CFD? How much leverage comes with your CFDs? Is that the FTSE trade I just traded, Sven? Not sure I understand the question, because I don't know what 6K win it is for 50 points. Is that the FTSE? What's the math behind it? What do you mean the math behind it? I bought 100, bought another 100, bought another 100. Sven, I'm struggling to answer your question, but how much do you risk in percent? Well, so in the FTSE, you see here that my stop loss is 25 points. That means that I risk 2,500. So I must, with an account balance of about, call it 100,000. I risk about 2.5%, and I trade with Trade Nation, and that's 200 times leverage. So 200. That's a very big. Whoa, neighbor's dog. Oh, sorry, I was talking. So 200 times leverage, 2.5% risk trade, $100 per point movement in the FTSE. Does that answer your question, Sven? If you could just type. Sven is refusing to answer, so I'm just going to move on. How did Denmark do in the World Cup this summer? I'm going to just let you search for that yourself. 2.5% risk per entry. Yes, 2.5% per risk per entry. But you have to understand that the way I trade is that I attempt to ride momentum, which at times works really well for me, and at times, like yesterday in the Nasdaq, well, let's just say that I had $4,000 in open profit, and I ended up with minus 4,000. So not a proud moment. I think Norway did very well, and as I recall, Denmark wasn't in the World Cup. You're welcome, Fisto. I think Norway did exceptionally well. I think Norway should be extremely proud of their national team. Okay, somebody is I can actually do more than one thing. I can answer some questions while maybe I'm not as focused on the trading, but then we've got some questions here. So, could you explain how you manage moments of anger or emotional loss of control when trading? Yesterday I had a very difficult experience. I went long and the market stopped me out by just 1 point. We've all been there. Then I switched and went short and I was stopped out again. We've all been there. This time by 5 points. After that I went long once more and I was stopped out for a third time. Ouch. After that point, I completely lost control. Well, who can blame you? You are human after all. Let me just check the DAX. So far we got a bar 1 that has defined bar 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Got an inside bar. I'm not going to do the Al Brooks joke. I'm just not. I refuse. I'm just contemplating on how to answer that question. I think I'm going to close my DAX. I think I just need to decide what to do with it. DAX closed for nothing. I'll wait for school run, which is in 5 minutes. I hate trading ranges. Some people love it. I am not that person. At that point, I completely lost control. In a moment of anger and frustration, I pressed the buy button around 10 times in rapid succession. Oh, that's the adrenaline kicking in. As a result, I ended up approximately 400% over my maximum intended position size and far beyond the risk I normally allow myself, even when scaling into trade. This could easily have blown up my account. I was simply fortunate that it didn't. I would really like to know how you deal with anger and emotional reactions in trading. Have you ever experienced something similar, or has emotional control never been an issue for you? This is probably the aspect of my personality that concerns me the most when I think about trading a large account. My greatest fear is not my strategy or my technical skills, it's whether I can consistently control my emotion when things go wrong. I think you speak for a million traders right now, Mr. Whatever your name is. So, over the weekend I wrote a piece for you and for everybody else, is that thoughts are energy. And what you're doing here is you're giving thought to an aspect of your personality that doesn't sit well with you. This is no different to the individual indulging in cream cakes when he or she wants to lose weight. This is no different from the person who engages in, I don't know, frivolous sexual activity when they're in a monogamous, that's not the right word, in a committed relationship. It's the same as the person who has just one drink and then they spiral out of control because that one drink opens up the floodgates for everything else. Do I ever experience emotions? Yeah, I'm a human being. I'm a red-blooded Dane. I have a heritage to the Vikings. You may not know this, and it's a bit like David Paul said to me. So I met David Paul when he was in I suppose he was in his 50s, wasn't he? He said to me, if you wouldn't have recognized me in my 30s, I was an aggressive, obnoxious bastard. And I thought that is very difficult to align myself with, because I always saw David Paul as this gentle giant, as an amazing human being. I am watching the market. I am watching. And I think Mr. O, we'll call you Mr. O. I think, Mr. O, that the hardest part that we can expect from ourselves is perfection. The best thing we can do is to work with our flaws and never stop working with them. So in my own little way, you may have recalled that there was I attended a party on Thursday and I didn't feel very well Friday. Why didn't I feel well? Because I did something that I normally wouldn't do. I ate sweets, I drank cola, and I paid the price for it. I knew the consequences of it, and Friday and Saturday I felt awful. It's just because my body doesn't handle sugar well. And instead of punishing myself, I accepted that in that particular moment of celebration, I I decided to have some birthday cake. And okay, so that was the hardest bit. I didn't do any alcohol because I would never do that. Don't do alcohol, don't do drugs, don't smoke. But a cola every now and then, knowing full well that it's not good for me, is something that I will fall prey to, even though I promise myself don't do it because you feel shit afterwards. Look, I'm no different to any other human being. I'm generally not. Please do not put me on a pedestal. Instead, perhaps learn from my wisdom, and that wisdom has been acquired through making countless mistakes in trading and as in life. You don't gain anything from unduly punishing yourself just because you did what you did here, because we've all done it. And if we haven't done it at some point, we're probably going to do it. I've seen Paul Tudor Jones in a video go absolutely spunking mad at the market and risking something like $500 billion in yen just to make $100,000. Apparently, it was the reason why he wanted to pull that video. It's like a 1980s video because he was afraid investors were gonna suss out that he took so much risk just to make a paltry return. So I think we all battle that side of us that perhaps isn't aligned to be risk takers. And I think what you're doing here is you're creating awareness, but you're creating thought to it, you're creating energy to it. And perhaps if you wanted some practical guidance, then it would be create yourself a book of horror. A book of horror is a phrase that I have coined. I'll just write that down. Book of horror. I'm sorry, I've hurt one of my fingers, and every time I type with that particular finger, it gives me excruciating pain. It's so stupid. But I was exercising and I ripped one of my fingernails off. Yeah, don't ask me how. It's just, the violent sport that I engage in, seemingly. So I ripped off one of my fingernails, or actually worse, I ripped off half my fingernail, and it is so painful. So every time I try to type with that finger, I make spelling mistakes. The Book of Horror is a visual representation of the side of you that you don't want to be confronted with when you're going about your business, your trading. And the mind is a muscle, and it needs constant adaptation. It needs constant reinforcement. And it's very nice to be able to argue that we could go to a hypnotherapist and he will iron out our worst qualities in a heartbeat. I mean, the heart of the matter is that we actually do want to change. So going to a hypnotherapist to stop smoking or stop drinking alcohol if you don't generally want to, I have my doubts that they work. I think change has to come from deep within. It has to be a deep, and it has to be a very persistent desire to want to change. But then it also needs to be followed up with reinforcement that is ongoing. It's not a one-off thing. And so if I were you, if we were together, and that's not an offer because I'm a mentor of sorts, but I don't charge anything for it. I just enjoy helping you. And the reason why I actually enjoy helping you is because it helps myself. as well, I am able to crystallize some thoughts about change. And trading is very much about change and adaptation. It's very much about doing the things that we are not comfortable doing at the time when we least want to do it. It's the 4 a.m. alarm clock that rings and we get out of bed and we work out because that's what we have decided to do. It's the make that phone call that we don't want to do because the person at the other end deserves that phone call. And it is about you doing what is right for you. This is your life. This is your journey. It's not your neighbor's journey. It's not your son's and daughter's journey. It's not your wife's journey or your husband's journey. This is your journey, and you are ultimately responsible for the journey and the direction of that vessel that you're commanding. And so don't expect perfection at any point, but simply acknowledge that you have work to do. We are all work in progress, every single one of us. None of us are flawless. None of us can claim perfection. And may I say, thank fucking God, because perfection is boring. It really is. I have had some immaculate trading days, and I walked out of the office thinking, well, that was great. But it's just such a shallow victory because, hey, you're back at it tomorrow. And are you expecting perfection tomorrow? That's one of the reasons why I think real big wins are often followed by reckless trading, because we somehow think that we have created an environment where we can't go wrong. And so we begin to not be disciplined. And so discipline for me is behaviors that I implement every single day. And it's not sexy. It's not. It's not particularly worthy of attention either. It's like what Muhammad Ali says. It is the 5 a.m. pounding the pavement in the rain under the street lamps in the darkness is what wins you the victories. Interestingly, and I hope that I don't compromise her when I say that, but I wrote to Al Brooks's trader, Rose. We just know her as Rose. I'm actually doing an event with her and David Capablanca and Al Brooks in Los Angeles later this year. And I said, hey, am I disturbing you? I said, because I just needed to ask you a question about the topic that we were going to talk about in Los Angeles, because I don't want to talk about something that Rose was going to talk about as well. And I asked Al Brooks the same question here. What are you going to talk about? Because I don't want duplicates. And you have to bear in mind that this was on a Sunday. I asked her this, and guess what she was saying? She said, no, you're not disturbing me. I was just going through the markets. I was trading a demo account. And I said, what? What are you doing trading a demo account on a Sunday? I said, well, I was just practicing. Yeah, just I'm a geek. I just want to get better and better. And I thought to myself, fair fucking play. I mean, here's an individual who is putting in the hours. And so I think my message to you always, put in the hours, because you're going to be rewarded. Nothing is wasted. And the Book of Horror, I think, is it's like it's a mind workout. It's an ability for you to create a structure that is reminding you of your best sides and of your worst sides. And like a muscle, that mind needs reassurance. It needs strength. It needs strengthening. And there's absolutely nothing magical to it. But that's the irony. We get fooled into watching YouTube videos and buy events and courses and Tony Robbins events. But actually, success is remarkably easy. You just gotta keep doing it and applying it every single day. There's no magic to it. It's not what we do every now and then that counts. It's what we do every single day that counts. It's one of the reasons why last thing at night, I write down what I want to do the following day. because then my mind has something to go to. Otherwise, my mind will drift. And a drifting mind is a wasted mind. The mind needs to be put to work. It needs to have tasks that it works towards. And that's how I created success in my life. And I define success as the ability to work on my terms as and when I want to, with complete financial freedom. But it didn't come cheap. Now I had to do what other things didn't want to do. You know, perhaps like Rose, work on a Sunday through a demo account. And I wasn't so surprised that she did it. It was just that I thought I was the only one who would do things like that, go over the market. But then I remember reading, do you remember that trading psychologist? Phenomenal man. Absolutely humble and phenomenal man. If you haven't heard about him, worthy to listen to. And I'm probably going to mispronounce his name. Brett Steenbarger. Anyway, Brett Steenbarger was talking about one of the traders that he had mentored at a prop firm in America. And he said this guy, he was a standout because he was the best performer. But not only that, he was also the hardest worker. He would be the guy that sat after hours and replayed the day. He would be the guy that would come in on weekends and go over the week and say, hey, what are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? So oftentimes we wonder why there's such a spectacular failure rate in the trading industry. Well, probably because people don't have a sense of just how hard they have to work at making a success of this. So that's what I would do if I was you. Okay, school run. I was looking at the entry, the school run behind the not behind the scenes, while I was talking. And the reason why I decided not to trade the school run short was because bar 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all inside bars. And even bar 6 didn't actually have a meaningful close below 1. Do you see that we don't close below 1? And at a 7, yeah, there was some nerves, but I actually think that we should consider being long the DAX here. So I'm going to execute a long position in the DAX now at 24,886 in anticipation of a break up to new highs. I'll post that. It's not the best entry in the world, absolutely not, but we got a strong 7 and 8 bull close, and I think we're gonna. There's some would say that you could expect a second leg down, but I would say 2 and 3 is the first leg, and 5 and 6 is the second leg, and we can move up to the highs of the day now. Hey, it's all theory, isn't it? Just because you can talk it doesn't mean you don't have to do it. 24,886.50 with a stop loss at 24,786. It's a way too big a stop loss, obviously. So I'll move that up. FTSE has actually, I don't know if you saw this, but the FTSE gave a first bar positive sell signal there. But actually, I've come to appreciate that, and that research needs to be readdressed. But we'll do that another time. See if there's any other questions while we've got a long position running in the DAX. I could have been faster to buy it. Where would I like to add? Well, that 15-minute bar is going to close in 2 minutes, and there's a real chance that I would do a buy on close, or say that this was the high here, I would buy as it goes above the high of bar 3. Right. What do you think of this? Do you have an anchor? Okay. Okay, so a lady is, I'm keeping an eye on the DAX on another screen. I'm not sure whether this lady wants me to say her name, so I can't let go of my losing trades. I always think I can fix my losing position if I just buy lower or sell higher. I'm wondering what Dr. Jung would have to say about that. I trust that you don't refer to me as Dr. Jung, but you are that you're actually meaning the real Jung. But I would like to take a stab at it. And I would say what you're describing here hang on, could you just one second? Sorry about that. It was one of my siblings. When they make 4 phone calls to you in an hour, you just think, Jesus, is something wrong? It wasn't. It was just like, hey, how are you? DAX is actually retreating a little, unfortunately. So as much as I attempted to read the price action, it seems that I managed to buy just at the highs on the completion of bar 8. Let's hope that it is just a minor retracement. But if we start trading down around 840, I'm just like, oh, that is not what I want to see. But hopefully it is just a range-bound trading environment that we are in. I think I'm going to move my stop loss to 830. I'll perhaps be more comfortable buying the FTSE down here. Okay, well, I'm keeping an eye on both the DAX. I can't let go of my losing trades, says this lady. So how do we address things in our lives that is not in our favor to carry on feeling how we feel? It could be behaviors, patterns of interactions with other human beings, or in this case, the market. What I would say, I'm a little bit distracted. I need to just keep an eye on the DAX, and then I'll answer the question. Yeah, no, it's there's actually a whole lot more selling in the DAX than I had anticipated. I felt that 7 and 8 were a strong reversal that would take us up. Feels like a real trap. My stop loss, I've set it at 31, which is down here. I find it hard to believe that we could see a retest of 7 and then not go lower. Although it is a trading range, but still. Here's the same price action in the FTSE on a 1 minute chart. Looking at that, you're thinking, we're going back down here, aren't we? Excuse me. While we are waiting for an outcome on the DAX trade, I'd like to address a personal matter regarding my book. And it's in context of the question that I would like to answer, which is this one here. I have people who read my book and then come into my world, see me live trade, and they say, you don't trade how you say we should trade in the book. When I read that, I often get I get disillusioned, even hurt a little. Why is that? Is it because my ego is the size of Donald Trump and I can't take criticism? I don't think it is. I didn't intend to write a manual that described a complete structure from which we could trade and that you should never deviate from. I wrote an expose on how the mind works in various situations, and I describe what the ideal mindset is. I think what hurts me perhaps is not so much hurt from my point of view that somebody has criticized me, as much as it is I am disappointed or perhaps frustrated that people think that you are flawless and perfect every single moment of the day. What is it that that Ted Lasso says in when Nathan has stabbed him in the back and gone to West Ham as a coach, and they see this video, and he says something along the lines of, I hope that all of us are judged by our best moments rather than our worst moments. And I think we all in life have episodes where we haven't perhaps acted in our best way. I guess that's why the word sorry was invented. I'm sorry I behaved this way. I'm sorry I did that to you. And I mean, you assuming that you really mean it. I'm sorry that I fell short of the expectations you had of me and the ones I had of myself. And so the book Best Loser Wins was based on my experiences of a decade on a trading floor. And it was written in the spirit of what we really need to do is to work towards never adding to losing trades, because very little good comes from it. And we need to develop a much healthier relationship with losing than the most traders have. And if we then really want to go in the opposite trench, we should attempt to do the very thing that perhaps we don't want to do, which is to add to our winning trades. Because it makes sense from a statistical point of view, because trends tend to persist, but it also makes sense from an emotional point of view, because you are reinforcing the good behavior by doing something that's countering the bad behavior. It's very easy to add to losing trades. If I was going to offer criticism of colleagues, but professionally, it would be, I don't like when they talk about adding to losing trades. I understand the argument that they put forth, and I respect their argument in a sense, but only to a degree, because I think what they're assuming is that everybody can do what they're doing. And also, I might hazard an add-on to that, and that is, I don't mind adding to a losing trade either if I'm trading one lot. But when I'm trading 100 lots or 200 lots per clip, I can't really afford to compound my mistake, because the 100 lots alone comes with significant financial repercussions if I get it wrong. And I can't have too many of those that goes wrong. And so me adding another 100, it first of all, it sends a signal to my mind that it is okay just to, have a little drink, have a little puff, have a little snort. Not that I ever done that, but you get the saying. And so to me, it's much easier just to be consistent in the application of discipline. And adding to losing trades is the opposite. And so, yeah, I'm quite vocal about it. I'm also quite vocal that it perhaps disappoints me that the people that I look up to, including some very well-known names, it disappoints me that they add to their losing trades, because I don't think that it is something that we should promulgate to retail traders. Quite the contrary. We need to have a much better relationship with losing. Hence the title, Best Loser Wins. The title really says it. It is that letting go of something that didn't go your way. Well, it's very difficult for human beings. Look at your own life. I'm sure you've been in a relationship where you deep down knew that this wasn't going anywhere, but it was difficult to let go of. Maybe because of comfort, maybe because of habit, maybe because of out of desire not to hurt the other side of the equation. But what I've learned, for example, from relationships that didn't go well and where it was the counterparty that took the action, actually, in hindsight, as much as it hurt at the time, you really had to respect their decision to say, I can't do this anymore because it's not going anywhere and it's hurting me more to be in this relationship than it does to let go. It's more painful for me to stay than to go. And that's where we want to be with trading. It has to be painful to be in a losing trade. And our go-to thought shouldn't be, how can I make the mistake less, or let me make the mistake worse. It's a bit like being in a relationship with someone that you know that you're not going to, that doesn't have a future, and then you ask them to marry you. That's to me is that's the sort of the equivalent of adding to a losing trade. You're sort of in the vain hope of, hey, our relationship is not working out. Why don't we have a baby together? No, please don't, and please don't get married either. But but people do that because it's much easier, but it's easier to compound a mistake than it is to make a decision saying this is not working out for me. And so change comes to the people who generally want the change, because change requires that you move out of the status quo. And change comes from constantly reminding yourself of what is it you're working towards. It's not an every now and then thing, it's a constant thing. It's a constant reminder. And so to me, losing trade represents a very natural part of our domain, very natural part of the DNA of a trader. But when you are in a losing trade, you need to figure out a way to develop the right kind of mental attitude to it. It doesn't have to feel good to lose, of course not. But it can't be something that basically makes you or breaks you as a trader. I can't let go of my losing trades. I always think I can fix my losing position. Well, right there, you're also bringing awareness to a part of your DNA that needs attention. And as I said, thought is energy. And so you are on the right track by bringing awareness to it. The next step will then be, how can I bring awareness to it on a regular basis? And how can I make that part of my daily routine? We think about daily routines because we want to get fitter, healthier. Well, we schedule the gym time. We book a coach. I don't know. We plan our meals. We count our calories. We cycle to work rather than get in the car. We do things that meaningfully moves us towards our goal, not in one gigantic step, but little increment measures. And you have to do the same with trading. It means that you have to schedule time. It could just be a couple of minutes going, okay, I do not want to trade how I did trade on Tuesday. Or what did you have on Tuesday? Well, I added to a loser, and then it went further against me, and I added once more. And so you have a visual reminder. Perhaps you have a screenshot of the loss that you took from your brokerage statement. I don't want to be that person. Do you know what I don't want to do? I don't want to be in this DAX position anymore. Not because I don't think that it couldn't go up, because it very well could, but just because my trades tend to work relatively quickly. And this is range bound. And so 10, 11, and 12 looked good, but it's just not able to gain any traction above 24,800. Yeah, I hope that helped a little bit to the person that asked it. Wow, nicely done. Maybe that's the impetus that the DAX needs as well. I'm going to take my loss in the DAX. Kind of lost the desire to be in this trade. Closed. Let me just update. I closed DAX from -20. I just don't believe in it anymore. It's just, it might go up. Okay, so somebody's asking here, so when you drink tea or coffee, well, here's a surprise. I don't drink tea nor coffee. I trade for a long time as well, full time. I like what you said, that when you help people, you help yourself. Well, it's true, isn't it? It's what I notice, and it's just a friendly advice, is that when you increase the lot size, you lose, and also sometimes you rush to enter some stuff that are not ready. Okay, so maybe you start with a third of the lot size and you add to a loser, can turn out to be kind of, yes, no, I get it. So, say that my lot size is 100. Could I scale in 30, 30, 30? Yes, of course. Yes, great idea, and it would allow you to add to loser, meaning you scale in around an area where you want to enter. Now I get that argument very well. Okay, but when you add on a winning trade, which is 1-2 points in profit, is like going 200 in that direction. So it's like adding to a losing trade. Well, okay. Well, we don't have to agree on everything, but if you add on the losing trade 30 points lower anyway, your risk is half because the stop is half. Sure, I get it. So if you risk 2,000 on 100 point and then add on 50 point lose, for example, same lot size, you lose another one there. If you add on it 2-3 point profit, then I'm sure this message makes a lot of sense to you, but it's a little difficult to follow your train of thought. Yeah, I got out of the DAX at 65 because it feels incredibly heavy and as if it doesn't want to rally, and I decided to get out. So there you go. Hey, I'm going to keep this session a little shorter. I had a phenomenal FTSE trade. DAX was actually the one that disappointed today. So here is the trading history. It's been a really good morning, but a little bit disappointing towards the end. 2 trades.